This is an explanation of page 4, number 1, a linear programming problem. So a merchant plans to sell 2 models of an item at costs of $350 and $500. The $350 model yields a profit of $80, the $500 yields a profit of $100. Total demand for the 2 models must not exceed $150. Find the maximum monthly profit. So we need to first define our variables. And the hard part a lot of times with these is figuring out what the variables are. I've underlined profit because that helps us to define the variables. If you think about writing the profit equation, our profit, we have a profit of $80 on a model that costs $350 and $100 profit on a model that yields $500. So now we've said what our two variables are. X is the $350 model, and Y is our $500 model. And this is our profit equation we're eventually going to plug points into. Now let's look at our restrictions. The total demand per month for the 2 models must not exceed 150. So X plus Y is less than or equal to 150. The other equation is assume the merchant can invest no more than $63,000. So we have items that cost a certain amount. So we have the cost of buying a $350 plus the cost of buying a $500 is got to be less than or equal to $6,300 because he doesn't, I'm sorry, $63,000 because he doesn't want to spend more than $63,000. Now I want us to graph these by intercepts. That makes our life easy, gives us an idea of what our scale should be. So if I make X and Y 0, this one is easy. For the other one, you have to use your calculator and get the points. If you make X 0 and Y 0, we get 126 and 180. I do this first so I get an idea of what my scale should be. I'm going to go by units of 10 on my grid to get an idea of what the two graphs look like. And I know this is the real exciting part. Okay, the reason I did that is I now can graph my two lines. 150, I want to make sure I got the right 150, 150, and then draw a straight line. I promise use a straight edge. You don't have to have lined paper for these, but if you use a straight edge, it gives you an idea of your graph. For this one, Y is 126, so you can approximate that. Since we went by units of 10 and 180, and then using your straight edge, connect the two lines, or I'm sorry, draw your two lines. Now, for the blue equation, we are shading below because I test the point 0, 0. 0, 0 is less than 150. And also for the green line, if I test the point 0, 0, 0 is less than 6,300. So I'm shading this whole area here. So we have one test point we're going to plug in, which is 150 and 0. We have another one, this green point, which was 0 and 126. We need to find this intersection point. So the key to finding that intersection point is to utilize your calculator. Take this, solve for Y. I'm going to change it to a y equals. Plug this in y1. Take this equation, solve for y. Notice how I'm solving for y here. I'm not getting the decimal approximations of these. All I'm going to do is plug into my calculator exactly this syntax. Syntax is a fancy way for exactly how I'm typing it in my calculator. Plug that in y2. Use this scale that we came up with to find this intersection point. So let me try that now. Okay, I go to y equals. One of our equations was 150 minus x. The other equation, notice how the whole numerator I put in parentheses. So I'm putting that whole numerator in parentheses divided by 500. Now go to your window. Come up with this same window that we had here. So I went 0 for my min, for my x and y min, and say 200. So I'm going 0, 200, and my x scale, my tick marks, were units of 10. 0, 200, tick marks of 10. Now when you press graph, you see one graph come up, the other graph come up, and you see I have this point of intersection. I need to find that point of intersection. So second, calculate, number 5. Because I only have 2 curves on here, this doesn't matter. First curve, second curve, guess. If you have more than one intersection point, you're going to have to get close to that intersection point. Press enter. 80, 70. So we know this point right here is 80, 70. So in our profit equation, make a little chart. Plug in this profit equation. You're going to plug in 0 and 126. You're going to plug in 80 and 70. And then you're going to plug in 150 and 0. So I have 100 times 126. That gets me 12600. When I do 80 and 70, so I have 80 times 80 plus 100 times 70. That equals, and then I have 80 times 150, and that gets me 1200. So I am looking for the maximum monthly profit. So my maximum monthly profit happens right here. So write me a sentence. Max profit is, I'm going to make that look a little nicer. Okay, so my max profit is $13,400 with 80 of our $350 model and 70 of the $500 model. And that's how you do that first example.